Jago here from the Shot Clock Podcast, sitting down with an Irish legend, Fordham 2017 Hall of Famer, beating Fuzzy there. I'm just going to get that in just to annoy him. Ex-Talca, ex-St. Mark's, where it all started, Colester, DCU, now assistant coach with Liffey Celtics. Suzanne Maguire, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks a million.
Great to finally got here. You on.
I know, we finally got here.
This is the ongoing saga of, are you busy tonight? Yeah. Are you busy tomorrow? Yeah. Like, it's just back and forward for the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. Are you busy? Yeah, I have to eat me dinner.
Look, we're finally here. We're finally getting to do it. So that's the main thing. Look, I've started them all the same way. You know, this COVID situation, it started off with, you know, how did you get through lockdown? Now that we're coming out of it, you're back coaching. We got the green light last week for our Super League and National League teams to get back. Hopefully, shortly we'll get our underage back. How are you coping?
Yeah, good. Like I said to you before, we kind of hopped on about COVID. It's just like from the start of it and going into it, and the things that, you know, myself and Megan kind of did, like, you know, we found a lot of positives in it. You know, it was tough, and I know a lot of people found it tough, and certainly having somebody is very important. You know, it's an important thing to remember. That's what made it, you know, the way that it was, and a lot of people didn't have that. But, you know, lots of positive things for us kind of came out of it. We got this guy here, our dog down here, Duke. He's 8.5 months, not so little anymore. So he came into our lives the start of this year. And, you know, I'm a big yoga person now, so I do yoga 4 or 5 times a week. Big shout out to our mandala community, because they were super during this, and that's something we latched onto and anchored onto. So I think finding those things to anchor your days around, obviously working from home, having that, and then transitioning into kind of, you know, nighttime family time, and just, you know, there's a lot of good things to say that we were able to take from it. We missed an awful lot, you know, for sure, everyone did. But it won't reign in my head as being, you know, an absolutely terrible time. But I know I'm one of the lucky ones who can say that. There are a lot of people who struggle an awful lot. So, but I'm happy for everybody, and for basketball, for sport, and for life, that we are where we are now and emerging.
Slowly but surely. But look, we'll get back there. Assistant coach with Liffey Celtics next year. So you're back training indoors next Tuesday?
Monday. Yeah,
Monday.
From next week. From next month, 23rd, I think is the date that we can. We were outdoors last night. It's interesting. The rain just about held off, but I was kind of saying, let these kids be reminded of how life or how basketball started for some of us. But yeah, from next week, which is great, and then it's 6-7 weeks before the season can start. So we'll see when the dates come out. But yeah, I'm excited to get back around the women's game. Excited to get back coaching. It's been a couple of years, and you know, Giannis is the head coach, and I have a huge amount of respect and admiration for Giannis. He's a great guy, great coach. You know, very much down the middle. There's no grey with Giannis. It's black or white. So, you know, it's brilliant, and I learn an awful lot. I'm back around the club that, you know, I was last playing with, and good club, successful club now in this league. So it should be a good year. Excited about it. Should be a good year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just getting back into a gym with, look, I'll take 6 players out of one out of basket. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's just getting back indoors. I've had, so my senior 1 women in Fairhouse, I've had 1 torn calf muscle. I've somebody with a ropey ankle, broken toes, and a hamstring injury, all because of playing outdoors. You know what I mean?
Are you serious?
Our bodies aren't built to get up and down an outdoor court. Back when we were young, absolutely, we spent all day, every day out there.
No, we did, yeah.
Up with you.
Yeah, no, it does, for sure. No, absolutely. I remember one year, so I'd always had this kind of a fascination, but I grew up around a lot of sports, right? So I played at a very young age, a bit of GAA. Didn't come from a Gaelic family, didn't come from, you know, that kind of environment. So I went down the basketball route, but always fancied myself that I could be, you know, no Lindsay Pete, but I played a year at Parnell's when I was with DCU, and just to that point, just the different surface and the effects on hamstring, on my lower extremities was just horrific. And I was too old to be doing or trying to be that kind of a player. But got a year in, then satisfied myself that you could have been like, you know, the Marlon Brando, you could have been a contender, but like, you know, go away from yourself now. But yeah, now I now change of surfaces and your body gets used to this stuff, and then it's like, what are you doing? Like, stop the lights, you know.
Should be exciting times for Irish basketball as a whole, but we'll get on to that later on. Let's take it back to your career at the very start. Who, what, or why inspired you to pick up a ball for the first time?
Yeah, it's, you know, when I think about this, it's just, you know, I grew up with 3 older brothers, and then when I was 10, my parents had my younger brother, so there's kind of 5 of us, you know, but four boys, and 2 of my older brothers were big into basketball and played basketball. And it comes from that. I mean, it comes from, you're in your family, they're out doing something, playing sport, kicking a football, whatever it may be, playing basketball. And the only way you're getting in on anything is by doing the same thing. And so it comes from them. So it came from being around my brothers, you know, dipping into different kind of sports. And that was the one, they played it a lot. So I started playing it a lot, and, you know, played a little bit in secondary school. But at the time, no idea if it's still the case now, but the baskets were different sizes, right? So 8-foot baskets in primary school, right? Don't think that happens anymore. And then you get to kind of secondary, it's like there's the real deal now.
It's still the same.
It's still the same as that. So you don't really think, so you don't really, in my mind, it didn't really start till my first year. You kind of get in and start playing schools basketball, and you go home, and like I said, we moved out from Bellegarde, Springfield and Bellegarde, where I kind of had spent the first, 8-9 years of my life, out a bit more space at what's now City West. So we had a lot more space. My dad stuck a pole in the ground, cemented it, and there was a basket there, and we had out the front of my house just a basket, and that's the rest is history. You know, you spend your evenings out there, your brothers are out there killing each other, like there's fists flying, right, and you're trying to get stuck in there too, and whatever else. So yeah, that was it. It was learning, it was growing up, it was wanting to be one of the boys and get some interaction with my brothers and play a bit of sport. But that's kind of where it started from. And I think, like most things, if you get an affinity for something, or it kind of, you feel that, yeah, I could do this, or I could like this, then it sticks, has a sticking power to it. So it just stuck, and I went with it.
And here we are.
20
minutes later.
So many years later. So how many? So many years later.
So look, over the years, Tallaght Rovers, Colester, DCU, you've had amazing teammates with every team you've played for. And obviously we'll have to mention the Wild Rovers, because Katrina White will kill me if we don't. But who's been your favourite teammate and why?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? Yeah, it's the first of many of these, but listen, that's what we signed up to. Yeah, like you said, I mean, I've been lucky, I suppose, how fortunate I was for how long I was able to play, and therefore who you get to play with. So, I can go back and, think of early Irish teams where it's kind of Karen Hennessy and Sandy Fitzgibbon and Caroline Ford and all these, the Coins from, not from the Coin sisters playing in Naomh Mhuire, but playing from Carr out west, so going back to when those clubs were there and those players were there all the way through to playing with some of the, the younger players now. So blessed across the board, and probably will steal Lindsay's line here and be crazy to say anyone or try to pick one of them out, She got to the interview first, so she said Mary. So, big shout out to Mary Fox, because she was incredible. And for all the reasons that I think Lindsay pointed out, just, lovely person, lovely player, just integrated in with us in DCU for a number of years, and was just family, some great stories. Lots of them I forgot, but Lindsay reminded me of so many. That would be one. But, for me and my life now, my partner Megan I met through basketball. I met playing in DCU, so I'm gonna say Megan is probably my favorite for lots of reasons. You know, for the player, for just and obviously the person and what it's brought us and the journey that we've been on since that. So I will not try and pick from the so many that I've played a lot of years with, but I'll say Megan for journey that started.
The most politically correct and knowledgeable answer I've gotten on the podcast is like, right, who's living with me? Oh yeah, I'll just keep it nice and simple.
Life and basketball is very simple if you just keep it simple.
Life and basketball is very simple. Yeah, you meet so many, like, look, with Lindsay, we talked about, friends in common and all of that, but like, you show up to a basketball game and there's somebody in the crowd you haven't seen in 20 years. And it's like you saw them yesterday. And the feelings are still the same, and the stories are still the same, and you reconnect with all these people. It's just, it's magical.
Yeah, it's unreal. Especially that, when they do it at the cup weekends and, the who won the cup kind of 20 years ago, a couple of years ago, it was like the neighbour, and it was like the June Blounts and the Katrinas and the Sarah McCluskeys, and you're there going, oh gosh, haven't seen these guys, and they were a formidable part of my youth and that kind of competition, that growing, that learning as a basketball player. They were playing against and watching single biggest lesson of any player. It's what you put in, but the art of watching somebody and learning from that is something that we should value more. And I used to love that, aspire to be like those players. So seeing them so many years later, incredible. But absolutely. Exactly that.
So over the years with those teams you came up against, probably you were in the golden age of women's basketball, the latter end and the formal end of like the new batch, the new breed, whatever you want to call them. Who's been the toughest person to guard over the years, and then likewise, who played you the hardest?
I would say that see some photographs. So to play you the hardest was probably Gillian Hayes, and she'll feature for me because I think Gillian, in my mind, is and continues to be the single best player we ever produced, hands down in my mind. She was the first. She's the first person I can recall who just looked like an athlete. Like she just was cut, ripped arms and legs, and just had the physique of an athlete. Where now, no disrespect, and it certainly isn't disrespectful for anybody to say they didn't look like, but we weren't big, or it certainly wasn't part of the game around strength, conditioning, any of that stuff. I mean, we were drinking pints before training, let's be honest about this, and there's plenty who will admit to that. But we didn't play basketball. Lots of great things. There's lots of great things about that age, but Gillian was the first person who turned up. We were there going, oh my gosh, she's going to, she just was physically, and she was strong, and she just so determined. So, just the mindset and what she wanted to do. So definitely the hardest person to guard me. Gillian, the hardest person to guard, I wouldn't have guarded them so often, but certainly it was their ability and the fear factor around how much, and I always said in my mind, a single person should not be able to influence the game as much as Michelle Aspo was able to influence the game. She, very, very tough to stop. Very tough to stop. And when she, going to the bat, scoring, taking contact, and shoot the ball, and when she wanted to, and did pass the ball, create assists, get on break, defense, there was just, when you looked at it afterwards, there was one person you're looking going, she's not going to beat this team today, because she has the only person, I think, who had the offensive ability to actually beat a team by herself. She was incredible. She absolutely was incredible. So I'd say those two, Gillian tough person to go against, and Michelle definitely a tough person to try and keep at bay.
Yeah, two legends of the game.
Yeah.
Lucky enough to have had Gillian on, and she reached out the other day to say she'd listened to Lindsay's episode, and it's great to know that people are still tuning in and listening to it. So big shout out to Gillian. superstitions. You were number 13 as well, weren't you?
Yeah. I have it up there, number 13. Yeah, it's become. I always remember telling my friends in the States, like, just how mental we are over here. I was explaining to them how our car registration system was going, and said how we had to change it when we got 2013 because people wouldn't buy cars because it was we had to go 131, 132.
Yeah.
Mental stuff. But 13, yeah, started wearing that in Talca. And yeah, all the way through. So that was, yeah, nothing, very lucky for me, and see it being worn off a lot now, which is great. Some great players out there, like, so we brought up Howard Cassidy, wears a great Clare Media, wears, like, you know, some great players who are putting on the number 13. So, but superstitions, I was thinking about this going, probably was phases. Like, was there the socks and underwear stuff? Probably was for a phase. Was there you had to be the last one to put the ball in after warm-ups? Yeah, probably was a little bit of that too. Don't think there was a food thing. Was there, you know, definitely needed to, like, funny, always had to kind of have had a shower before a basketball match. Like, kind of had that sense of being cleansed and ready to kind of go and that kind of stuff. But nothing sticks out as being massively superstitious, but there was probably just different phases over the years of little things that you kind of wanted to get right. Just make sure you were settled in your head. A bit of routine, I think, kind of just settles the mind and calms you a little bit when it's like, I know what I'm going to do next, and not go stir crazy for a little bit of time before game. So yeah, but nothing overly superstitious.
Nothing like Jermaine, like, you know, not washing his socks, or, you know, nothing as mad as that. No,
that's not superstitious. That's just bad hygiene. Come on. Wash your socks. I mean, it can't be comfortable putting on. Oh, no.
For crusty socks, never suit anybody.
No. Not at all. No.
Right, so moving on from the crusty socks. What's been your favorite shoe to play in? If you could have, like, one shoe for your career, what's your go-to shoe? Or did it change?
You know, if I remember, just when, you know, have shoes been an important part of again, I don't think the one that sticks out to me is the Jordan, like the Air Jordan 4, right? And that was partly because, like, so going playing in Talca, we get the bus out on Friday night. We trained Friday night with Celine and the gang under whatever it was. Myself and Emer then would walk up to Phipsborough, go to McDonald's, have the usual, walk back to Emer's house, and we'd sit down and watch either one of two things. One was either Top Gun, can coach you the whole movie, right? So could any of those Talca girls, the whole movie, doesn't matter, tell you exactly what's going to be said next. And the other one was Michael Jordan's Come Fly With Me, right? So that's one of those first early documentaries.
What a VHS.
Oh, I tell you, cheesy as anything now when he's sitting there going, stretching himself and all that kind of stuff. Like, but there's that great shot where he's kind of walking up the court and it spans from his shoes up and he's wearing the fours, like, and it goes all the way up. Like, I think I had one of those posters in my room in Fordham. Again, quote the whole video. So I had a pair of those. Now, I don't think today I'd wear a pair of Air Jordans. They were really heavy, right? You wouldn't wear them to play in. But if I was talking about just what reminds me of kind of playing and, like, those shoes and that video and, you know, that person, you know, all that kind of stuff, like, kind of sticks in my mind as being, probably was, like I said, wasn't a big shoe person. It wasn't as important probably to me as it was to others, but that certainly sticks out as being a good one.
The one. Look, before we get on to the next question, you were lucky enough to coach the Irish under-18s. Was it 3 years? Is it 3 years? 3 or 4 years at this stage?
It's been 4 years now, I think.
4 years. So you've watched those girls go from, you know, underage to now representing our senior team. Absolutely fantastic news that we're back in Eurobasket properly.
Yeah, isn't it?
Unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. Such hard work has gone in behind the scenes to get them there. But what a team to do it with. You know what I mean? Like, Grania Dwyer, all the way down, like Dana, Adele, Thornton, brilliant right across the board. How proud are you to have had a hand in their development?
I think, you know, I had seen a lot of those players when Maeve had them under 16. I remember I flew out to when they were playing in Romania, I think it was, under 16, and I would have been that team and watched them be the most successful under 16 team at the time. Finished I think 6th, and then they obviously kind of progressed through and you know, played them with Tom. And just as things kind of arose, it was such a privilege to have known and seen them play at that age, to then have an opportunity to coach them and hopefully to give them something. You know, as a coach, is all you can do is hope that you give them something to develop their game or a sense of who they are or what they can achieve. So it was, you know, they were a fantastic team. It's, you know, being an Irish coach, and this was the time when we had them for a 2-year kind of period, as opposed to now we have the academies in now, so it's kind of a 1-year kind of program. But having them from, you know, through under 17, they were coming out with Tommy from that 18s group, and then they were kind of, some of them were coming forward again with us in the second year. Just, you know, it was such a great time. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of prep time. It's a lot of dedication from everybody who's involved. The players, you know, they give most of the time, you know, all, you know, your parents, all your support staff, all that kind of stuff. But it was just a wonderful experience, you know, looking back on it now. So privileged to have had the girls that we had. They're such great people. You know, I remember coming home and a couple of months later kind of sending them all, you know, took a picture, one of the pictures that we had, and send them all a card, just giving them that sense of, like, for me, that thank you for letting me coach you, you know, for giving me that opportunity, for being coachable and being receptive, and for showing them hopefully some things about their game and what they did, you know, what was successful about them. And it was all successful, you know, and you can see how that group has moved, you know, like I said, and where they are now right across the board, not just the, you know, obviously Dana and Claire being kind of the standout one sort, but also on the senior team, but other players too, like, who are just doing incredible work. Enya's over in the States, so is Brona over in the States. You know, players are in different places in their career, but all in much, you know, kind of progressed places. And that's what you want to see, that success continuing, because that is the basis of us having a senior national team with the right appropriation of ages across the board, which is what we kind of have now. You have experience in the likes of Grania, who I think might be the oldest player. But again, you know, being the age that she is, it's not preclude her from keep on going. But you have a nice range of ages through the Irish team. And that's what you need for continuity. And we've finally gotten there. And now, look, we've seen that on the men's team too, which is fantastic, right? Brilliant performance. But you can see, oh my God, it's the caliber right across the board. CJ up front, you know, probably maybe the youngest player, all the way through into Jason, you know, a nice range, a nice kind of group. And that's what Irish teams need to keep on kind of breeding. It's taken a long time to get to that balance. And I think we've got there now. So it's great, you know, and credit to all the coaches who are helping to get to that, because it's not just a 1-year thing. It started, you know, 10 years ago. And this is the fruition of that kind of stuff, you know.
Absolutely. Look, congratulations. One, Basketball Ireland, you know, I don't always see eye to eye with. But the last week, what they did, their third major championship in 4 years, went off without a hitch for the men. Absolutely fantastic. Amazing to watch. Got through everything. No COVID cases. Brilliant. Start to finish. Great coverage that we could get to watch these things. Like, grand. The arena wasn't full, which is sad. However, we still got to be part of it. Again, the previous week, the 16s girls, the 18s girls, the 18s boys. Like, we've had a beautiful summer of watching international basketball and watching our little country compete. And we're actually competing now. We're not going out and, like, we look like we belong. And like you said, like, you've Grania at the age that she is. In my head, Grania Dwyer will always be 21 forever, because that's how she plays. And like Hannah Thornton, Adele Thornton, you've all the way down. That whole squad is just amazing. But coming in behind them, you have the Lucy Coogans coming through at the under 20 level. You have the girls coming through at under 18. I think we're in amazing shape in the women's game right now to, like, really push on over the next couple of years. The men's game, I've never been so excited in my whole life. When you look at that squad that done what they done last week, with all those D1 players and pros, and who we were missing, who didn't make the team, is even more scary. Oh, all of these are coming true. And again, we're filling with youth again. Silas Sunday, you've Andy Okafor, you've all these boys coming through. Aidan Igahan was 21 today. He's going to come true. You know what I mean? And it's just, Basketball Ireland are doing a fantastic job of these Irish teams. My concern now, and we spoke briefly on this before we got on, is what will we lose with this shutdown for the last year and a half? Will that void materialize in 3 years' time, or will we just sail through?
I don't think we can say that we'll sail through. I think there is, there's you right now, like going into, let's say, the next phase of what the senior teams are going to go into. They have their panel this, decade of getting us into that kind of right shape of having the nice balance, and that will play through for the next number of years. So it won't manifest itself in the senior age groups. I think, what's difficult, the under 20 age group is always difficult, right? To play A, doesn't matter if you had, a whole year to prepare for that. It was always going to be a challenge for those girls. Just the competition. I mean, that's, you got to call a spade a spade. They're playing against professional players who are playing in professional leagues across Europe. It's very, very, very tough age group. It's a great age group, and it's great the girls get to compete, but it's very tough at A. The 18s has always been kind of the spot where it's the sweet spot where you're going. That's where we probably have had good success of late in there. The fear is kind of the underage, right? So it's the younger ones, right? So it's getting them into the ones that would naturally have flown through academies into that first kind of international kind of experience, and how that sets them up for the coming years when they kind of progress through this. That's where, in my mind, I would have the most concern that we will fall a little bit further behind in the youngest part of that, because we've missed out on all the steps we've put in place to get that under 60 at a bit more of a kind of a fundamental kind of level. So it will play through. I mean, I think it'd be naive to say that it won't impact us. I think we will see that through, but I think maybe the enthusiasm and, people getting back into the sport now, and I know the schools were able to do some bits when they were in session, over the last year. So I'm sure schools tried to keep up a little bit of kind of outdoor stuff because they were able to do some stuff. I'm sure people have tried their utmost to keep a level of, but across all the age groups, you can just see that playing experience and not playing, did show and did materialize itself across different tournaments. So yeah, unfortunately, it will play out, but listen, recognize it, and let's go and address it, quickly, and incorporate that, realize that, and it's just a bit more of a motivation to kind of, to kick on and get back in the gyms and get back coaching and kind of really go after it. So I think it will play through, but listen, let's see.
That's exactly it. Right, so moving back to our normal program. You and 4 others to the gym for a pickup game. Who are you bringing with you? You are playing Lindsay's team.
Yeah.
Of which you were a member, as far as I can remember.
Yeah. So I probably could take myself out of this team and put someone else in. So listen, I've done. It's when you think about players you've played against and players you've played with, and like I said, I've been so blessed over the course of time to play with so many and against so many. I think Gillian is there, has to be there. I named 2 players, Gillian and Aspel, are both going to be there for me. A theme to the team that I've picked is their ability to take contact and their ability to play through contact. So when you are playing with the best players, and this wasn't the feature of my game, I'll tell you that right now, but they are normally the ones who obviously are targeted. 1 player, 2 player, swing out of them, punch them in the face, tear their eyeball out, whatever it takes.
Whatever's needed, yeah.
Whatever's needed, right? Trip them up, so on and so forth. That was a June Blount special, if she's ever watching. But Gillian, Aspel took a huge amount, loved contact, right? Went in there and sought contact, you know, constantly telling my players to play off 2 feet. You want to see a player who played off 2 feet in the key, watch Michelle Aspel, and just love to take contact and get 3-point plays. I'll pivot now and pick a couple of younger players, right? So again, I mentioned them, Dana Finn, same thing. Plays through plays with so much aggression, but controlled aggression. Lovely girl, lovely player, you know, and I think, you know, to have a starting spot on the senior team, you know, going into that small country just is a testament to her as an athlete. And then to finish that and then go on to the field at Mayo, you know, so, you know, hands down and hats off to her. She's a fantastic young lady and a fantastic basketball player. And like you said, you know, when we gave up that basket against Sweden and put the ball in her hands, there was never a question in her mind or anyone's mind where she was going, and even the opposition's mind where she was going.
They knew, yeah.
And she still finished,
yeah.
And got us to win there, like, you know. So great player, Claire Media, right? So Claire, listen, if you want to see a girl who's been dragged out her whole life, just put people wrapped around her ankles and around her neck and trying to keep her back, like, again, a player who has to take so much, but you watch. You know, so much about Claire's game that still a lot to develop, and she's got a massive future ahead of her. I mean, massive presence, you know, but her demeanor, she never loses the plot, like, and that just takes an awful lot of, you know, for a young girl to have that, so, and has had it for her whole career to date, that kind of control, knowing that that's what she's going to face every time she's on the floor, is phenomenal. So again, the theme really is, for me, these guys are able to take contact right across the board. And I'll tell you the last person, because I mean, I might be out, but listen, the 6 man's important, and, you know, I know you like a good 6 man, right? So I'll put in Susan Moore. And again, if you want to talk about a player who's, you know, undersized at the 4, all-time leading scorer, St. Joe's, our only, you know, first person drafted the NBA. Like, Susan, unfortunately, her story isn't known with this generation of players now, right? Known with a generation.
It will be by the time I'm finished.
There we go. Like, so, well, she's just, I mean, I've watched, I was trying to remember, was I playing in this game, or was I just probably watching this game? I was trying to remember what part of my senior career it was. But literally, I think it was against Iceland, and literally, I think Susan went to ground, and like 3 of them went to try and actually kick her head, right? That was how much they didn't want her on the floor and how devastating she could be. But again, somebody who had to play through so much contact, undersized contact too, but again, went after it. So another, like, phenomenal player, but was the theme for me was these players just, you know, being the best at the game means that people come after you, and you can react different ways to that, right? All of these players reacted in the right way to that and absorbed it, bring it on a little bit, you know, and then yeah, just phenomenal, you know, just phenomenal players.
That's a serious 6. Hey everybody, so that's the first part of Suzanne's interview, just finishing up with her 6 to the court, and we're going to start back with another 6 that you gave, multi-sport 6, just a little twist. Head over to our Instagram page to vote. It's Suzanne against, I'm going to say Lindsay Pete. Yeah, I think it is Lindsay. I've lost track. Great news today. It's a Monday that I'm recording this outro. Super League and National League teams are back indoors. Isaac Westbrooks, shout out to you for possibly the best tweet of the night. Anybody who needs to look at it, go and look it up at Ikey Dub. Fantastic tweet. Made me laugh. A special thank you to everybody who took part tonight in our 3-on-3 competition in Fairhouse under 15 girls. We have 13 teams taking part in our 3-on-3 tonight, so I'm absolutely delighted with that, to get kids back on the court. Hopefully we're not too far away from going inside, and until Thursday, this is Jago saying I'll see you on the court soon.